Hello there everyone, how you doing today? I hope you're all well. Today we're going to r/ nuclear revenge, where the revenge is absolutely amazing. You have no idea. It just goes like a giant bomb. It's amazing. Stick around, find out, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment on the stories if you want. Cause that helps with the algorithm and all that. Now let's get started, shall we? Revenge on an animal abuser. One day I was on my evening walk with my dog, and we came across a small dog, standing in the middle of the street shaking. Its hair was matted, had mange, ridden with fleas. One eye was swollen and sealed shut with mucus. Nails were so long that it was walking on the back of its paws. It was malnourished and quivering. I was shocked. I called my wife to bring me a blanket and come pick us up. While I was waiting, the door of the house in front of us opened, and out came a disheveled-looking older man. He started calling for the dog to come inside. I absolutely lost it. I screamed at him, asking if it was his dog, and he replied it was. I asked him why it was in such bad shape, and she said, "She's sick and won't eat." I yelled at him that there was no effing way in the world I was letting him take her back inside. The shouting match lasted long enough for a few neighbors to come outside, who later told me he had another dog in the house. Eventually my wife pulls up, and I wrap the doggo in a blanket and go home. I looked up the name of our local snow-heeled shelter, but they were closed until the following day. My wife and I decided to call her Sally. I gave Sally a bath and went and bought some wet food since she wouldn't eat dry kibble. She devoured it. I set her up a nice sleeping area in the garage for her to spend the night. First thing in the morning, I took Sally to the shelter and called animal control and told them what happened. They went to check her out, took a statement from me, and ended up at his house confiscating the other dog. Unfortunately, Sally was put down due to the horrible shape it was in. She was also very old. And here's where the revenge begins. This old asshole's house was on the route I took my walk on with my dog twice a day. My dog likes to take a dump about 2 houses before we reached his. Perfect! Now I don't need to carry bags of poo all the way to my house. I started tossing them on his roof twice a day. At first he would climb a ladder around once a week to get them down, but eventually I broke his will to do that. This went on for about a year before I moved. His house was covered in shit bags. I also printed out flyers with his address and pictures of how I found Sally, and put them all in the neighbors' mailboxes. I live across town now, but every couple of months I ride by and toss a bag of dog shit on his roof to let him know I'm still thinking about Sally. I know you. You let that dog down, you pathetic waste of space. And the OP of this story did a fantastic job caring for the dog in its final moments. I am proud of you. Revenge on a hacker. One day I got an email from a hosting provider telling me that attacks are being launched from our server, and I need to look into it. I looked at the app he was using and discovered it was an open source project. I then downloaded the code for this backdoor, modified it to log everything onto a file, and replaced his app with my honeypot version. Over the next 6 months I collected every scrap of information I could on this guy. I then used that information to take over many of his online accounts, including his main email account. That was the account where he had registered all of his services to, so I was able to issue password reset requests for everything he owned. I gained control of 6 other email accounts, 24 IRC accounts, his Facebook page, his dating profile, numerous websites, and the backup site he used for his cell phone. I have his phone number, his mom's number, and his girlfriend's number. I know his address, his birthday, the schools he went to, even his favorite foods and music. After I took every single online account he had away from him, I sent a nasty email to his ISP in an effort to extort yet more information from them. In that email, I said some very unkind things about the monarch of Indonesia, and how I might smear the monarch publicly if I didn't get the information. The hacker disappeared immediately after that. I have looked for him at times over the last 15 years since, and he has not resurfaced. The Indonesian majesty laws regarding insults to the monarchy are not to be trifled with. The prison term for such an offense is 15 years. My neighbor liked to clean. This was first posted in r/petty revenge, but I was told it belongs here. I thought I got nuclear, but my revenge was still petty. I'll let you be the judge of that. In 2001, I just moved to a quiet neighborhood where my children, 1 and 3-year-olds, could play outside safely and grow up with neighborhood children. It was also nice for my cats, who were 3 years old, to be able to run outside finally. After the first week, it was our first garbage day. Everything neatly enclosed bags and in our personal garbage container. In the morning, we had to place the container on the side of the road with the rest of the containers on our street. So it was there at 7, after which I started cleaning my house. I had a white floor because I liked it. That way I knew for sure that it was clean. I mopped daily. I was still extremely clean at that time because of my crawling children. Then I did the shopping. When I got home, I was in shock after opening my front door. My entire hall was full of unknown waste. Pieces of glass, sharp metal lids, pieces of food, cartons, plastic, and so on, clearly stuffed through the mail slot. I already saw a number of neighbors looking at me expectantly behind their windows in front of their house. It was clear that they knew more. After asking around, I was told who had thrown the garbage in my house. Conscious neighbor had done this with much fanfare. Something snapped inside of me. A bomb in my frontal lobe, and all decency disappeared from my mind, steam from my ears. I cleaned out my trash and put the kids in the living room. Then I cleaned the cat litter box. Normally I throw the entire contents into a bag, but now I was a bit more precise. I only scooped the poo and urine clumps out of the box and divided it evenly into 2 small bags. Those thin ones tear pretty quickly, by the way. I took the bags and went to the neighbor furthest down the street. I rang the doorbell and kept the bags behind me. The lady opened the door with a smug grin on her face. The door opened wide and I could quickly see her hall. On the right was a carpeted staircase. On the left side, an open door to the living room. The hall continued another 1.5 meters to the back after the stone doors, where the toilet was. Everything was super clean. I asked her devilishly calm if she had put that waste to my mail slot. Her answer was yes, followed by the reasoning that, because I was new here, that the loose waste was lying around the placed containers must have been mine. Because before we lived here, that never happened. This was the moment all the blood vessels in my eyes burst. The calm was gone. In a tirade of abuse, I made it clear to her that I had not been the polluter, and that if she had any decency, she could have spoken to me instead of jumping to conclusions and dirtying my house and endangering my crawling children and animals by dumping that waste in my house like that. With the message that she liked to clean up so much, "Here, please," and I threw the 2 bags in her hallway, one against the corner of the stairs and the other on the doorpost of the living room. Everything, really everything, was covered in shit, and the splattered clumps of cat urine, with the warnings thus promised that if she ever thought of doing something like that again, I would smash all her windows. I turned around and went home. Everyone had seen and heard everything. I never heard anything from that neighbor again. No one ever thought of doing something like that to me again. I can still enjoy the face she pulled when she saw the bags flying. It was shock, fear, indignation, nausea, and despair all at once. That's the end of today's video. I hope you all enjoyed the stories I had for you. If you did, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and maybe clip a few moments you enjoyed. That helps with the algorithm a ton. Now, I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.